Hi everybody, my name is Julie Matkins and this is Statistics for the Social Sciences, and I chose religious upbringing and the outcome of a marriage as my research topic for this final project. The question I propose was, does being raised in a particular Protestant religious denomination affect the outcome of marriage? I chose this research topic as part of a small increment in the big picture of life. Marriage and divorce can be a part of success or demise, whether you experience one or the other, or both, or neither. And these have the potential to affect the mental health of adults and children involved. Because my field of study is adult development and family studies, these life changes are a factor when it comes to emotional and physical well-being. I do believe there is a correlation here. What I wanted to also mention is that I realize that there are other factors when it comes to the outcome of marriage. You've got, finances and children and jobs and just your relationship overall. And so I know that there are definitely other factors, but I thought this was a really interesting subject that I wanted to pull out and just see if there was a correlation to it. So there are certain Protestant religions that believe marriage is sacred, and I wonder if these people surveyed that were raised in a Protestant Christian or were raised as Protestant Christians, who marry, do they stay married? And I forgot to tell you that was, hold on, I'm going to go back real fast. That's my husband and I on our wedding day, of course, and then this is us 21 years later. And my husband was mad that I put that picture in there. He said it was terrible, but that's okay. I thought it was funny. And yes, we were kids when we got married, for sure. Variables. I have the independent variable: in what religion were you raised and what specific denomination is that, if any. I renamed it denomination groups. One thing I want to mention is I started with about 16 different groups, but within those groups there were multiple Baptist groups and multiple Presbyterian groups and Lutheran groups. And so thanks to the suggestion of Dr. T and my other classmates, you all, I lumped them together to create roughly 5 or 6 different groups for the sake of simplicity. My dependent variable: if currently married or widowed, have you ever been divorced or legally separated? I renamed it ever been divorced or separated for the sake of the cross tabulations. So why do we use cross tabulations, and what does mine mean in particular? Cross tabulations will enable you to examine relationships within the data that might not be readily apparent when analyzing total survey responses. In the sake of, or for the sake of my cross tabulation, many overall respondents who were currently married or widowed reported that they had never been divorced or separated, about 75%. Of those that had been separated or divorced, interestingly enough, the Baptist denomination took the lead at 36%, which is what we see right here. And then the Episcopalians were my least amount. And then coming in second place was those that reported having not been brought up in a Protestant religion. Let's see. So my pie charts, I just wanted to throw in there: an overwhelming majority reported not having ever been divorced or separated when asked this yes or no question. But of the ones that did report that they had been divorced or separated, the Baptist denomination was who made up the most. So for my measure of association, I chose lambda. I wanted to define what a measure of association is. These measure the statistical strength of the relationship on the variables of interest, and it gives the direction of the relationship between the variables. In my case, lambda, and forgive me, I made out some notes, so I wanted to make sure I covered everything. Lambda was chosen, or I chose it as the measure of association because I was dealing with two nominal variables, one of which was a yes or no outcome. Basically, we were looking at the relationship between Protestant upbringing or denomination of each individual and how that affects the outcome of the marriage. So SPSS reports that the lambda value is 0.019. It means knowing that one's denominational upbringing will reduce the prediction error in determining divorce or separation by 1.9%. For me, unfortunately, the closer to zero, the weaker the relationship. Probably a weak relationship in correlation, but I still wanted to continue on. For my test of significance, I chose chi-squared, and I wanted to break down the steps for you real fast. Step one being that we need to determine our hypothesis and our null hypothesis. So mine, being raised in a Christian home, affects the outcome of a marriage between two people. And the null hypothesis, there's no statistical relationship between the religious upbringing and the outcome of a marriage. For step two, I wanted to state my level of significance, which was 0.05. And I went ahead and for step three, posted in here the analyzed data. And my significance turned out to be 0.19, which basically told me that my probability here was less than or equal to the level of significance. So since 0.019 was less than 0.05, we will reject the null hypothesis. So in other words, I will reject the theory that there is no statistical relationship between religious upbringing and the outcome of marriage. Researchers should accept the hypothesis and explore further research concerning marriage and how it is affected by Christian upbringing prior to marriage. So how does this tie into current research literature? A few weeks ago, we had to present some articles to the class on one of the forum posts, and I mentioned, and I know several others mentioned, that it was kind of hard to find articles to back up what our topics were. So after quite a bit of digging, I did end up finding some articles, more qualitative than quantitative, but still very interesting information. And so according to some of the literature I found, couples face a 30% lower risk of separation or marital dissolution at any time during the study period that was given during the research than those who married in civil or other ceremonies. No religion involved. And I think I missed a little bit right there. Basically what we're saying is, or what the article was saying, was that if you were married in a religious ceremony and your upbringing was of a Protestant background, then you face, according to the statistics, a 30% lower risk of separation or marital dissolution. So those surveyed were married at one time, or they're still married, and they were asked to give background on their religious upbringing. Those who married in the civil or other ceremonies answered no religion on their background questions. So good news. I wanted to state a little bit of possible cause and effect here. Currently, 8 in 10 people raised exclusively within Protestantism continue to identify as Protestants today. 56% of those raised by a Protestant parent and a religiously unaffiliated parent now identify as Protestants. So there's another statistic. Fully 1/4 of young adults in the millennial generation, which is what we see a lot of now, that's 27%, say that they were raised in a religiously mixed family. Okay, so what does this mean exactly? Basically, what I got to thinking about was those that were raised in a Christian home or a Protestant home, did they carry this on into their adult lives and bring it into their marriage? And what this second article was saying was that 8 in 10 people who were raised continue to identify as those today. And some of the further research was that more than half were actually still practicing the religion. And so what I was wondering was, is this number, the divorce rate, going to go down with this generation? And it just so happens that I read an article discussing how the millennial generation has has set forth a decline in the divorce rate because they are, getting married older, and it mentioned their religious upbringing and what they were identifying as adults. And so, maybe we'll have some cause and effect here. And so what do I think about the statistical relationship between religion and the outcome of marriage? I kind of mentioned a little bit of that throughout. But I do feel like the hypothesis that I presented is correct. I think the epsilon is high enough that there is a relationship between Christian religion and the outcome of a marriage. We can look at it both ways. It's safe to say that there were more married or widowed respondents that had never been divorced or separated, and they were raised in a Christian-based home. It's also safe to say that of the respondents who had been divorced or separated, the highest rate within the Christian denomination was the Baptist population. So these factors can affect the outcome of a marriage, for sure. And that's the end. So I've enjoyed this class and appreciated the forum feedback from everybody, and I wish everybody the best of luck.